The next topic was that Bray Wyatt was not the only return this past weekend. The Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, made their return to the WWE on the season premiere of Raw at the Barclays Center. They served as aid to AJ Styles in his feud against Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. One of the most interesting developments of this entire thing isn't just the return of the Good Brothers, it's the fact that Carl Anderson is the current reigning and defending never openweight champion, and where he is scheduled to defend that belt on November 5th. I think it's him versus Hikule. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. He's defending the belt on November 5th, the never openweight championship. The reason why this is something of interest to me is that when Carl Anderson actually came back to the WWE, one of the first accounts to retweet that tweet was New Japan Pro Wrestling. Also, there was an image that came out with Matt Riddle today of Matt Riddle and Suzuki, I believe it was, training together. So I think that my question is, are we going to get a WWE New Japan crossover? Is this Forbidden Door 2?
Honestly, I hope so. I actually do hope so. Now, and that'll actually get me to start like paying attention more so to New Japan, because I had fell off a little bit this year with paying attention to everything that goes on. But this is new and this is exciting. But then it also makes me think, like, if they're gonna have crossovers, you know, like how does that work for like TV time for like the
Mm,
current roster? Like, does Triple H get rid of some people to make space for them? Like, how do
mm,
you work this out in WWE land?
mm.
Because I saw some of that as a discussion on Twitter that Triple H is going to start releasing people. I'm like, huh, because they're saying contracts are like coming up. So I'm like, what if this is all strategically planned? So they
Right.
could try to bring in some talent. Maybe like they haven't made the commitment to come all the way over to the Americas, but this is their way of trying to, get them to dabble in working with WWE talent, which I still think
Mm-hmm.
is cool. You know what I mean? Can you imagine Okada coming around to wanting to work with the WWE?
God,
He has said
that would
time and
be
time again that he
insane.
doesn't want to, but what if he came around? What if?
I, I'd
You
be
know what I
interested.
mean? Or Ibushi. Fucking love Ibushi. Fucking love Ibushi. Like, damn that man in his neck, but I love Ibushi. Or if I could get Jay White. Listen, if we
Jay
get
White
Jay White,
versus
I
Finn
need
Balor.
him or Edge. Just saying. Like, he is like in my head, like the fucking forward version of Edge.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he gives me so much vibes of him, like just being an asshole and being an opportunist and being like desperate to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes to like get the gold. I would love to see those type of crossovers. That would be such good shit. Oh
Mm.
my god! But again, it's like, how do you make this work? Like, because I feel like if you're gonna invite all these extra people and all these extra promotions, like you're gonna have to eventually make space somehow.
Right.
So how does this work long term?
I think
What do we
that
do?
I think that if we're talking about a WWE New Japan crossover, I think the way that you kind of go about it is the kind of the same way that AEW and New Japan went about it. I think that everybody who was on New Japan was still on New Japan's payroll. Everybody who was on AEW was on AEW's payroll, but it was just a matter of like seen as like a promotion or marketing in a way where you're going to another place to just simply promote the product. So I think that that's kind of the way
Mm-hmm.
that fiscally that it will work as far as like TV time. It would have to be centered around some form of pay-per-view in which both companies would be involved in. Now, is that possible? Yes. Do I think that this crossover is more than possible? I think absolutely. I think that like after Forbidden Door, New Japan is more willing to do business with WWE than it is AEW. And the reason why I say that is because when it came time to put the premier stars up for the program, New Japan did that and AEW didn't. Granted, AEW guys were injured, but like CM Punk wasn't there. He was the world champion. Like there were a bunch of other guys that were supposed to be there. And to be honest, everybody was waiting for a New Japan AEW show for seeing guys like a Punk and an Okada and seeing guys like a Tanahashi and, and a Kenny Omega. But it's like the show comes around and AEW guys aren't even like showing up the way that they were projected to show up. And I think that they may have rubbed New Japan the wrong way, especially because we don't know what the splits are as far as ownership of the actual content. That may have actually just been like AEW under AEW's ownership. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and that's a pain in the ass to get these people to go fly out to America and like your talent is not even there to
Is
wrestle them.
injured.
Like
Right.
I have a sour taste in my mouth too,
So I
you
think
know?
that and I feel like when we're talking about business partnerships, it's about like who can benefit the most or who can benefit, greatly from it. I think that New Japan has a lot to gain from working with WWE and vice versa. Like when we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, we're talking about like their premier factions. Bullet Club is the most premier faction that they have. And to be honest, I like the only leaders that I'm really trying to see at this point in time are AJ, a Finn, and a Jay White. Because when it was time for Kenny to step up to the plate, like he was injured, you know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, well, Kenny had his potential crossover opportunity and that didn't work out. So now I want to see other guys. So I think that Finn and AJ working with New Japan once again, I think that that's something that they would be intrigued about. But we'll see. I think that this is definitely possible and it should be very, very intriguing moving forward. So we shall see. We shall definitely see. I was gonna say, did you have anything else to say that you wanted to talk about, like the potential crossover of New Japan and WWE?
God, it just would have been so much cooler if certain people didn't jump ship so soon. Had they known that all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff was happening.
Imagine
Just
Cesaro still being in WWE with a New
yeah,
Japan show on the
actually that was the name
horizon.
I was gonna mention. Yeah. Or seeing Adam Cole like when he was actually important, being properly utilized. Like I was just thinking about how awesome that would be, and it's just like they have to be kicking themselves with all these changes happening, man. It's insane. But no, I don't really got anything extra to add on to that. Moving forward,
I was about to say an Undisputed Era versus a United Empire match would have been fire, but things we'll never know. But moving on,